Our next speaker is also via Zoom, but from South Africa. The Honourable Faiez Jacobs, who is an ANC Member of Parliament of Greater Athlone in South Africa. He's also involved in an effort to pass a Palestinian bill in South Africa. He's born and bred Cape Townian, serving communities on the Cape Flats. Previously served as a secretary of the ANC in the Western Cape until 2019. He has been a long-standing advocate for the freedom of Palestine. And for the next 6 to 7 minutes, is he with us online? Yes? Welcome. He's going to be speaking for the next 6 to 7 minutes about a South African perspective on the Israeli apartheid. Please, over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings, everybody. Respected Dr. Abdul Falik and members of the Korbada Foundation, fellow panelists, members of the media, sponsors of the event, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. May the peace and blessings of God Almighty be with all of us. Allow me from the outset to just thank you, Dr. Falik, and all the members of the foundation for inviting me to share some of our perspective. We from Cape Town, the southernmost tip of South Africa. My name is Faiez Jacobs, Member of Parliament representing the African National Congress, the governing party, the party of Mandela, and I really feel privileged and honored to be joining this event today. I think I want to start by the beginning, which says occupation is the first act of violence, and there will never be peace and all occupied Palestinians until we address the original sin. As we know from our experience in South Africa, that freedom doesn't come easy. Many lives were lost to achieve our freedom. On the 5th of December, we will celebrate or commemorate the 10-year passing of our beloved Nelson Mandela. And he said on the 22nd of June, 1990, he stood in front of United Nations and he said, and I quote, "It will be forever remained in our indelible blight on human history that apartheid crime ever occurred. Future generations will surely ask what error was made that this system established itself in the wake of adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It will forever remain an accusation and challenge for all men and women of conscience that it took as long as it took for someone to say enough is enough." The second act of violence is the lies and deception of the Israeli apartheid occupiers unleashed to either hide their atrocity and war crimes. Apartheid Israel has adopted the gospel of deception, and that's part of its existence. The Nakba catastrophe is a case in point, while the Holocaust denialists are there and they speak about they are the worst. They implementing this and they are continuing with this atrocities, ethnic cleansing committed at the hands of these militia. The recent released movie called Tantura tells us about the realities of and that characterize apartheid Israel occupation, and which will be ongoing well before the creation of the Zionist entity stole that land. Den Yasser was a village perched on the hill west of Jerusalem, which have become emblematic of the suffering of apartheid Israel inflicts on the Palestinians. On the 9th of April 1948, just weeks before the creation of the apartheid Israel state, members of the Orang Stan gang, led by the 6th Prime Minister apartheid Israel Bengen, attacked the villages, killing at least 107 Palestinians. According to testimonies from the perpetrators and surviving victims, many of the people were slaughtered, from those who were tied to trees, burned to death, to those lined up against the walls and shot by machine guns, were women, children, and elderly, similar to what happened now. One picture portrays the cruel image of an elderly couple with their hands tied behind their backs. As the news of these atrocities spread throughout, thousands fled their villages in fear. More than 700,000 Palestinians fled or was forcibly displaced from the outset. And that was the beginning of the Nakba and the outset of the Israeli creation. According to the Israeli narrative, aimed at breaking through the blockade road of Jerusalem, and the fighters encountered stiff resistance from villagers and were forced to advance slowly from house to house. They threw hand grenades into homes and then gunned down anyone that survived. But Palestine and some Israeli historians say the villagers have signed a non-aggression agreement with the Haggah, the pre-Israeli state of Zionist army. They were nevertheless murdered in cold blood and buried in mass graves. Israeli historian Ben Forrest said the militia ransacked unscrupulous, stole money and jewels from survivors and burned their bodies. Now, I focused on the past, but I think this is a reminder of the 75 years of committing war crimes by the apartheid Israeli state. It is critical, therefore, when we address the issue of breaking the cycle of violence, to understand this violence is ongoing and the warfare that props up this apartheid state. 4 wars of Gaza, including the 2 intifadas, the 2 wars in Lebanon, including the massacre of Sabra, Shatila, and ongoing bombing of Iraq and Syria, all points to the reality that the apartheid Israel is a military state that systematically occupies Palestine and continues to illegally expand its settlement on Palestinian land. This is a tragedy of mammoth proportion for which apartheid Israel must be held accountable. We, therefore, must continue to keep the issues alive on this multilateral forums, mobilize public opinions across the globe, as we have witnessed in every city. We had a recent march of almost 250,000 Cape Townians of all race, all denomination, all religion, showed our solidarity and love and support for Palestine. This is an important element in keeping apartheid Israel accountable for its war crimes and against the humanity and genocide. Our government have continued. We've just expelled the Israeli embassy. We voted in parliament for this. And at the same time, our ambassador at The Hague is also part of the international, criminal court to charge Netanyahu for the war crimes. We must continue with the internal resistance, just like we see the support that we're giving. We must continue the work for the unity of the oppressed and ensure that the internal response to Palestinians is more effective, more coordinated. We too have built a solid internal people structure, and we continue supporting the Palestinian people. Globally, I think we must continue to break the violence of the economic hegemony in order to cut off the lifeline of this Zionist state. In this regard, we work with the boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS, and it's still one of the most powerful and peaceful ways of ending the cycle of violence through arms embargoes and crippling the Zionist entity. We're also exploring a bill in Parliament. We've already broken the cycle of information, as my previous speaker has spoken, where the information warfare and the emergence of social media has provided an instant platform to expose the Zionist atrocities, the ethnic cleansing and genocide, and the lies perpetrated by the CNNs and their media outlets. These media outlets are now clearly are not keeping up to the pace of social media and this young generation that is talking truth to power. Finally, it's my view that the cycle of violence will only be broken when we all say enough is enough. And tonight, and we act upon the suggestions that we make here tonight. So we in South Africa, we pledge our solidarity and continued support for the Palestinian people. And we appreciate that we could be part of this international panel. Thank you, Chair.